Nier Automata, a game announced out of left field by Square Enix, with series director and scenario writer Yoko Taro, doing his usual duties with Platinum Games helping with the game's creation. The dream has finally been realized, a game with the level of polish Yoko Taro deserves. Nier Automata takes place thousands of years after the original Nier. Humanity now lives on the moon, and they send androids to fight in their place to wipe out the machines that walk the Earth. You don't have to play through the original Nier to understand the story of this one, as it covers all of its bases pretty well. In Automata, you play as Combat Android 2B, Persistent Scanner Android 9S, and another Combat Android A2. You don't get to decide who you play as or when. The character you play as changes as the story moves along. Speaking of the story, the Drakengard series is known for making people feel uncomfortable, and this is no different. Without saying too much due to spoilers, there were entire story beats where I just didn't want to play anymore because of how drab and bleak things became. That being said, the story told is sort of boring and almost incomprehensible at first. But the further the story goes, the more it begins to make sense and becomes an absolute roller coaster of emotions. Unfortunately, to fully encompass the story, you'll have to play through the game again to unlock the actual second act of the game. As far as open worlds go, the world's not small, but how big it is almost goes against it as it's pretty bare. In a way, this works because humanity has lived on the moon for thousands of years. Of course, this isn't to say there's nothing truly here. The reason you're on Earth to begin with is to help out the Resistance in their endeavors to help wipe out the machines. In this very small area is where you'll be upgrading weapons, buying items, and etc. There are also wonderful side quests sprinkled across the world by androids and machines alike. Sure, they have you either fetch items, look for someone, or hunt an enemy, but they're all diverse in what they have you do, and some of the stories told across them are well done, with a beautiful reward waiting for you at the end of them. Gameplay-wise, Yoko Taro plus Platinum is a match made in heaven. As a Platinum title, this isn't necessarily their deepest combat system, as you can easily just mash your way through, or if you know what to do, you can combo your way through opponents with light and heavy attacks. With 5 different weapon types, one weapon you can choose to be for light attacks, and the other for heavy attacks to form a set, and to then be able to change between the two sets on the fly, one can certainly make the combos in the game very deep. It doesn't stop there though, as 2B, 9S, and A2 have different combat styles, so nothing gets too stale. All 3 of them have access to pods, which can continuously fire at enemies. If you'd like, you can either aim manually at an enemy or lock on. Funnily enough, if you can handle it, I suggest just controlling the pod manually, instead of just locking on, as manual shots don't spread. As a Yoko Taro title, this is easily the best played one. Like with the original Nier, Automata is mostly an RPG. However, it has no problems mixing up the genre on the player. One moment it's an action RPG, the next you're playing a side-scroller, next it'll be a twin-stick shooter while being a bullet hell all at the same time. Another thing that Nier Automata nails well is the sound. If you were to just go through the main game, it won't feel like there's a lot of music in the game. In reality, there's much more than what most would realize. For instance, when hacking, whatever theme is currently playing in the outside world, an 8-bit version of that song would play right where it left off, without missing a single note, and vice versa. Some side quests actually have their own music pieces just for them, and you'll only hear them during that quest. Outside of the layered music, the most interesting thing that could be pointed out is that the game actually takes advantage of the fact that they're androids. Throughout the world, you might find another pod or two, and they can actually be found through the annoying high-pitched noises that they make. Unfortunately, Automata does indeed have its fair share of issues. As pointed out, some areas of the game have pretty bad frame rate issues. Thankfully, combat situations stabilize the frame rate a bit, so things aren't as bad as it truly is. But when it does happen, it is noticeable. There is another issue though. At some points during the game, the minimap wouldn't load anything outside of some icons, and traversing the city was a nightmare, because of the fact that every few seconds, the game would constantly flicker as if it was trying to load in something that was not supposed to be there. Issues don't stop at just performance though. As far as the game itself goes, the first hour or so is more or less unfair to inexperienced players, unless they play the game on easy. The first hour of the game has no checkpoints, so if one were to die anywhere between from the right when the game begins, all the way up until the end of the first boss, they'd have to do it all over again from the very beginning. The demo for the game also brings a false sense of security, as the items are automatically used if one were to die from a hit, whereas in the final game, that's no longer the case, and now only happens in near-death situations. Enemies themselves also hit harder. If they had added a checkpoint or two, this wouldn't have been an issue at all. Nier Automata is nothing short of a marvelous game. The game's characters and their development is just breathtaking. Combine that with some of the best music you'll hear this generation, and a completely customizable control scheme, and you're set for success. The good is phenomenal, with the bad being negligible to almost pretty distracting at times. It's an absolute miracle that this game came to be, and what was delivered is Platinum's return to form and another chance for the world to experience a game held by Yoko Taro. And that does it for our review of Nier Automata. To see the full written review, be sure to check out our website, gaminggamma.com. A link will be provided down in the description bar below. And if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a comment down in the comment section below letting us know what you guys thought of the review, and if you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe for future Let's Plays, reviews, commentaries, and more. And as always everyone, this is GammaLad, signing off.